Do we have sound now? Holly, Anita, do we have sound now? No sound, no sound, still no sound. I don't know why I don't have sound. Not really sure what the issue here is. Do we have sound now? Yes. Yes, we have sound. Do I sound like I am echoing? Because I just turned on 2 microphones, so I want to make sure I am not echoing. Here, let me just check my sound here. Hello, am I echoing? Because I just turned on 2 microphones, so I want to make sure I am not echoing. I feel a little echoey. No echo on your end. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it as it is. If I start sounding very echoey, somebody let me know, because I don't know. I had so many issues with my camera this morning, I didn't think to check my sound. I don't know why I can't go live and not have any issues. I just can't. I just can't. So anyway, back to your day. I hope it's a great day. Thank you all for being here with me today. This one for me is that we're going to paint today. I just so thoroughly enjoyed painting this. Just brought back so many memories for me as a kid. Nostalgia. It just was a great project for me. I thoroughly enjoyed creating it, and hope that you get the feels for it like I did. You know, just was fun. I'm gonna see if I can get me a little in the corner here so I can show you a few things before we start real quick. Ooh. Didn't want to do that. There we go. That's what I want to do. Put me little in the corner. And then put that up there. I think I'm going to have to turn my chat thing off. It seems to always get in the way. I haven't got that quite figured out. All right. Okay, so as soon as I get everything situated here, if for some reason my camera above me freezes up, I'm just going to switch everything to the palette camera and put it full on the screen and paint underneath it, because I don't know. I think something's wrong with my USB port in the back of my computer. That's all I can think of, because everything else on my computer works beautifully. This is the only one I have, and I did switch it into a different USB port here a while back, so we shall see how it goes. So, all right. We've got a good group coming in here. We're going to have fun with this. I wanted to quickly bring, this was my initial idea, my practice board. This came out of my art journal. I have removable pages for it. This is a 9x12 size. I had this in my head, what I wanted to do. So this was my rough drawing. It's very rough. Very rough. It's not good, but it's a rough painting of the idea of what I wanted to do. So then I refined it and came to this lovely design right here. I love the circle going off, and just creating just a fun little nostalgic painting here. For me, this is nostalgia. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and my husband was born mid-50s, so he grew up late 50s, 60s, early 70s. And, you know, times were just different then, weren't they? I mean, it was just a pleasure. So much fun to grow up in those years, in that era. It just was the best time. You know, we came from a small town. Everybody pretty much knew you. You walked wherever you wanted to go, or you rode your bike. In the summer, you spent all day at the pool, nickel candy bars, just played after dark, you know, and it just was a different time. Lots and lots of great memories for me when I sat down to paint this. Not that I played marbles at all, but it was fun. It was fun. I just wanted to bring in some of my husband's marbles. He has a huge jar full of marbles. Some of these are newer marbles. Some of these are older marbles, just to get you an idea of, some marble thing. Of course, you can go online and look up pictures of marbles, and you'll find so many different ones. But look at all the creative ideas that you can have with marbles. Now, these bigger ones, my husband and I, we call these the shooters. I'm sure there's many, many different names for these bigger marbles. We call them shooters. So look at all the different ways you can do marbles. And oh my gosh, I just love the differences that you can get with marbles. The majority of mine are painted with this kind of design on them because I just felt like in painting those would pop a little bit more. These are, you know, newer marbles. They're not old. You know, not like from the 50s and 60s, but marbles are a lot of fun. This one, I wish you could see the color under the light. It almost looks like a teal green. There, it shows it a little bit there. So pretty. So pretty. But these marbles are just gorgeous. You know, there's some really old ones in here. Some super old ones here. But it's just a lot of fun. So if you've got a bag of marbles or a jar of marbles like my husband has, pull some of those out and get some ideas for painting. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, our grandson loved playing with my husband's marbles. He'd get them out on the floor and put them in piles, and then we'd pick our favorite ones out of there, and we'd roll them around, and he'd load them up in his toys and carry them around. But just lots of fun, lots of fun. I'm just going to show you a couple things that you're going to need or you might want to have for this project, a pencil or a stylus. You should be, at this point, if you're going to paint with me, gray background, a light gray. I just mixed black and white together and got my gray, but you know, if you want a gray sky would be just fine to paint your background with. This might be just slightly darker than gray sky. So if you're going to use the line drawing that I used, which that's what this one is, I didn't freehand it. I decided to make it just like the line drawing so that you could follow along a little bit easier. But what I did was I took my circle stencil. I used this one, but I do have the 3/4 inch, which is the size of this one, the smaller one. And then this one up here is a 1¼ inch circle. I used this one to draw my circles on. I laid my line drawing on. I put my circle template on top of my line drawing. I had this down, then my line drawing, which I'm not sure where I put my line drawing. And then I just laid this on top of the line drawing and used my stylus to draw it like that. But if you want to make up your own pattern, just put your circles on here, take your pencil and draw circles wherever you want them. This is an incredibly easy design that you do not have to think a lot about. It's going to be a lot of repetitive stuff, you know, just repetitive painting. So it's going to be a pretty easy one, I think. All right. I am going to be using DecoArt Traditions paints on mine, but if you got the free line drawing, the conversion for DecoArt Americana was in there, so you can gather that. The only color I forgot to list was aquamarine, and if you're using DecoArt, you can use like a Laguna or a peacock teal. You know, even a turquoise color would be fine. You might want to darken the turquoise just a little bit. But, you know, your marbles can be whatever colors you want. You do not have to use the same colors I use. Be creative. Whatever colors you like, just go with that. Don't feel like you have to make them exactly like mine. The brushes are listed with that line drawing as well. But use whatever brushes that you like. I encourage you to always use your favorite brushes and whatever paints that you like. All right, so I'm just going to use the Americana line of paints for doing my splattering on the background. So we want some black and some white. And I've just got a partially used paper plate here, or foam plate. And we're going to thin down this paint. I'll put it on my palette so you can see it. We're going to thin down this paint with some water. And then we're going to splatter our background. So we want these little splatters on here. We do not want great big drops. I didn't want great big drops. I mean, if you're painting on something bigger, you can certainly have bigger splatters, but I wanted smaller ones on here, and I am going to keep a baby wipe handy. So if I get them too dark, too big, too stringy, I can just remove them real easy. You can use a paper towel as well, or a damp brush, but that's what I'm going to be using, is just a baby wipe. Have it on hand here. All right, so this big brush is just for tapping against. You can use any kind of brush, any kind of tool that you have that you can tap on there and get some of them spots off. So I'm going to load my brush with some water, and I'm going to thin down some black paint here. And there's quite a bit of water in there. Quite a bit of water in my brush too. I don't want all that in there, so I am definitely going to remove a lot of that, especially that's way up here in the brush. I want it mostly to be down at the end of the brush, not way up in here. So wipe that and then load a little more. I'm using a rake brush. This rake brush is a 1/2 inch Royal rake brush. I do not remember where I got it. I've had it for a long time. Could have been Hobby Lobby, could have been Michael's. I don't know. I would check with the brush guys to see if they sell Royal brushes or have this one, but I have had it for a really long time. I like it because it has really long bristles on the end of it. So that makes it really nice for splattering. All right, so we're just going to go right here to our prepared surface and start splattering. Let me zoom you in so you can see how tiny those little splatters are. And I'm just going to work my way. I'll wide angle back out now that you can see how small they are so you can see the whole surface. And we're just going to continue with our splattering all the way around. Don't worry about getting it in your marbles. I really want this to resemble cement a little bit, and all of my splatters are pretty dark. You know, I'm not going to keep them that way because I want a few that can be dark, but mostly I'm going to take my baby wipe and begin kind of touching them back and softening them out. I like using the wet baby wipe as opposed to a dry paper towel, but you can certainly use a dry paper towel as well. And what's kind of fun, as you pick up here, when you go around your surface, you can leave some of those finer, more shadowed, more lighter dots on your surface. So this is just an easy way to get a really nice background. I need a little bit more on here. Our marbles are glass, so we're going to see through them. So splatters on them are okay, although this one I might take a little bit off because that's our big marble. Okay, and you just do as little or as much as you want. You see, I only loaded my brush once because I want these fine little splatters. Now, if yours are coming out big and fat and chunky and thick, you've got too much paint in your brush. If they're coming out stringy, too thick of paint in your brush. So I always remove all that extra moisture from my brush before I even start. So, all right, there's our black. We can come back in and add more in there. I'll put a little bit right there. Just to get that background looking really nice. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with some white. Again, I'm going to rinse my brush out and thin some white down. With all that water that's in my brush, I don't care if a little bit of black mixes in there, and I do have a lot in my brush right here, if you can see that. So again, I want to remove that out of this thick part of the brush. I just want it in the end of the brush. And tap your paper towel before you go to your surface. And I am just lightly tapping. These are very fine little dots. I need a little bit more in my brush. Still don't have enough, so let's grab some more here. I want more white. I'm going to rinse that out a little bit. Touch my paper towel. My white's not coming onto the surface as well as I would like, so a little bit more paint in my brush, and I'm not going to thin it down this time because I've got plenty of water in my brush. I'll see how it goes. If it starts like being super stringy, I'm going to have to add some water in there. So I'm just barely tapping fairly close to the surface. Keep these a little bit smaller. See, I got a really big stringy one there. Some of the stringy ones are okay. I'm not a fan of super stringy ones when I'm making cement look, so I'm not getting my white the consistency that I want it to be. It's just trial and error here. The white's a little bit thicker paint than what the black was, so, you know, and use your more affordable paints for doing your backgrounds. Don't use your traditions paints. I mean, it's just, this is all stuff that goes into the background, pushes to the back, and, you know, we'll see it, but we won't see it, you know what I mean? That was a stringy one there. Looks like a meteor shooting through there. Okay. I did leave some stringier ones on my original here, and I liked it when I got done. I wasn't unhappy with it, so I just don't like tons of them. And see, the harder I tap, the more I get, the more it throws it out there. And I just want to keep it more controlled. And you can remove any of this from your marbles if you don't want to see it in your marbles, but we're going to see the background, so I'm going to, you know, I like to keep it where I can see it through my marbles. I think I'm going to do a little bit more white, a little bit thinner. I just want to see a little bit more white. I got something on my brush there. Too much paint, not enough water. This is one of those things. There we go. That looks much better. Okay. Much happier with that now. Okay. That looks pretty good. And again, you can take your baby wipe and soften any of that you want to mute down your white and soften it kind of like you did the black. Some of this is already dry, so it's not going to do that, but any that you can do it to, it just gives it a little bit more interesting look there. All right. So most of you know I'm not a fan of splattering, so it just gets everywhere, and I worry about it getting on my camera above my thing, because, you know, sometimes I can get wild and crazy with my splattering. So I'm going to get my easel out now and put it up on my easel, and we'll start painting these marbles. Move this out of the way. That is just an oven cleaner. It's one I use to paint on, like base coat stuff on and splatter on. So, alrighty. Oh. It's okay if you're late, Dawn. Just glad you're here. Glad you're here. So, all right, let's start painting. And like I said, you can paint your marbles any colors that you want. I'm going to look at this one and try to mimic as best I can, but some of these colors I mixed, and so my mixes may not go the same. I'm going to start out with my white, and I'm going to do every marble that I have white with. Okay, and I did white in almost every marble. Not this one. White's mixed in with that one. No white in this one. But I think all the rest of them have white. So we're going to start with white. You'll want to use a round brush or a, just a round brush. Some of the thinner lines you'll want a liner. So I've got a 1 and a 2 round and a 10-0 liner here. Get that out of the way. I'm going to spritz my palette and put some colors out. So we're going to start with our white. And you could certainly put all of your colors out, which I just might go ahead and put them all out. That way they're here and we can start painting and mixing and doing whatever we want to do. So I've got a green, a red, you know, like I said, whatever colors you want, but I do list the colors on the line drawing if you want to grab that. Purple. And I do have black. I'm going to put it over here beside the white so I can remember what's black and what's purple. I've got a yellow here. And an orange, which I can mix orange. I think I probably did mix orange. Oh my goodness, I can't get that one open. On mine, but you know, if you want an orange, certain orange color, then you can certainly grab that. And then I have an ultramarine blue and aquamarine. So I'll just put them all out. You don't need a whole lot. We're just making small lines here, nothing great big. I'm going to be mixing a little bit of paint for like my solid blue one and my green one. I may have mixed some color in with my ultramarine and darkened it up, probably some purple or something in there. And like I said, I did just mix my yellow and my red to make an orange, but I do have an orange out here. So, you know, if you don't want to get an orange, then don't worry about it. All right. I'm going to be doing my white lines first. I think I'll use my smaller round brush here. And we'll just start adding some white in here. A little bit too much moisture in my brush. I like the Traditions paints for doing this one because they're a little bit more pigmented, so it made putting the second layer on here a little bit easier. So I first started up here in this one and just created like almost an S shape. I'm making it a little bit fatter just by laying my brush fat. And your lines that you put on here don't all have to be exactly the same. You know, some can go straight, some can be curved. You just want to stay inside the circle. So if you have a hard time staying inside your circle, then keep a damp brush handy and clean up when you get outside of the lines so that you can quickly keep that circle shape. Okay, up here on this one, I might zoom in just a little bit and try to make sure I keep you on camera shot. I just did a couple of thin lines, and this is where you can go to a detail liner, but this particular round, this is a 0. I thought it was a 1, but it's a 0. Can make very thin lines if I stay up on the tip here. I think I did another one down here, but I can't tell because, you know, the bottom of that's going to be shadowed. Okay, this one I did kind of a squiggly line. You know, just be creative. Do whatever makes you happy in your marbles. You know, if you want them all to be solid marbles, you've got a marble collection and they all, you know, have a certain style that you like, then just be creative. And mimic those or create your own. I tried to kind of just create my own. I didn't really have any marbles in front of me when I was painting these. I just thought, oh, these colors will look nice together, and I kind of like that. Let's see, this one doesn't have any white in it that I can see. This one does. And my husband always talked about cat eye marbles, but I couldn't find one in his marble collection. So I didn't Google that to see what they look like. So I don't know what they look like. All right, this one's going to be multicolored. Some of those marbles that I kind of showed you, there was a couple of multicolored ones. So we're going to make this one a multicolored marble. And then this one. Well, it looks like, well, maybe I put a second white line in this one. I can't really tell. So because our marbles are glass and they're see-through, we're not going to worry so much about filling the marble in. So I'm going to do all of my white, and then I'm going to go back over and make sure they are nice and opaque. Okay, this one I did kind of a fat line here, and then a thin line here. Then this one down here, and you can put as many or as few marbles on your painting as you want. While we have our white out, I'm going to get my chalk line painted in because I want that to just be done. It's a very easy thing to do, so we're going to do that very quickly as soon as we get our first layer of white on our marbles. Let's see, this one looks like it has maybe a couple of white lines as well. Maybe we can't see all of that one. Okay, I think I have my first white on the marbles that I put white on originally. So that's how those look. All right, any questions, let me know. Oh, you're so welcome, Karen. I like to offer these free ones, these ones that don't require a whole lot of effort on my part to get it to you, because I want to encourage people to paint. Pick up a brush and just give it a try. So if offering the free ones, I mean, there's not a whole lot of information. There's a picture and a line drawing and the list of paints that I use. So if that's going to help you pick up a paintbrush, I'm all for it. So I appreciate it, and while you're here, please remember to subscribe. That really helps me out a lot. All right, so I'm going to use my 8 flat here and just load it, tap it off on a paper towel, and I'm going to dry brush this circle on here. So I don't want it to be, I'll move a little bit more of my paint. I don't want it to be, I want it to look like we drew it with chalk. So I want it to be dry brushy. Now my line that I drew on here was a little dark, so we can go through this marble if you want to, you know, to see a little bit of that chalk line through it. But if you're going to do it, just barely go through it. Don't make it bright. And then we're just going to continue all around. I load my brush, wipe off, so we can get that chalky look. I'll go over it a second time so that I can brighten it a little bit, make it look a little bit more like chalk. Now this one, you don't have to go through it because we're going to make that one a solid color. You just want to make sure where you stop here, you make sure that you continue here to make it look like a circle. And if it's easier for you to just go through that one, You can do that, and then just take your damp brush and remove it out of that circle. It's as easy as that. Dry brushy, we want a chalk look because this is a chalk circle on the cement. Okay, since that was dry brush, I'm just going to quickly go over that again. Still dry brushing, just brightening it up just a tad. You know, we still want it to look like chalk, so dry brushy, chalky looking. So I load the paint on my brush, then I wipe it, most of it off on my paper towel, at least the majority of it that's on the tip of the brush I wipe off. All right, I'm going to quickly do my second coat of white on all my white areas, and if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'll be watching for those. Like I said, I hope you guys that were here when I started are having a great day. I said that it's very cold here. Yesterday was a beautiful, gorgeous day. My husband and I just celebrated our 42nd anniversary on Valentine's Day. We went to our favorite restaurant to eat. So enjoyable. And then we went and bought tickets to the show Hamilton, which we're not going to go see till March 5th, but we thought that would be a nice anniversary present to ourselves. Have any of you seen the Hamilton play? We have not seen it. Looking forward to it. We haven't been to a play in a long time, so this one's a long one. Right at 3 hours, I think it is. So with intermission and stuff, it'll probably be close to 3.5 hours, but we are really looking forward to it. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, Don. Yep, 42 years. Hard to believe, man. Goes by fast, let me tell you. But I am looking forward to going to the play and seeing it. All right, just a quick second coat. You don't have to think too much about this. You're just kind of going over what you did. Try not to make your things any bigger, so I'm staying up on the very tip of the brush so I can control my paint and not push those lines any fatter. Just kind of skimming the paint over those lines and areas to get them a little bit brighter. And we will have to do 2 coats with every color that we use on here, so that's why this project is a little bit repetitive, but when we get to the end and do all the shading and the highlighting, and that brings these marbles just to life. Once we start getting a little bit more color on here, it will, it'll start changing and nostalgia will kick in. Okay, I think I'll leave the white on my brush and go into my teal. I'll go ahead and paint this teal one in with a mix of white and the aquamarine. Probably need a bigger brush. I don't know, this one might take me a little bit. I'm going to put this first coat in a little bit. It's a little bit brighter blue than I want, so I will dirty this up a little bit when I come for my second coat because I want it to look like an old marble, not a brand spanking new marble. Times were certainly simpler back in the playing marbles out on the driveway or the sidewalk or wherever you played them. Really was a great time to grow up. Got a little bit of blue outside there, so I'm just cleaning it up. Try and keep my shape there. Alright, I'm just going to wipe this brush and go into my my aquamarine. I'm still going to keep it in that mix a little bit, just a little bit more of the aquamarine in there. And I think I missed a white line on this one. This one has the aqua in it. There, and some up on the edge here. Alright, I'm looking around. This one has some aqua on it, so we'll add it to this one. A little bit of moisture. Maybe go to a little bit bigger brush when you're painting in the bigger areas, if it's very difficult. Okay, and then this one had a couple of blue lines, but it's not aqua. I'm pretty sure it's ultramarine mixed with a little bit of white. So maybe not. I don't know. That might be aqua. So the one I'm referring to is this one right here. So that might be aquamarine, because ultramarine blue, even with white, is going to be a different tone of blue there. So I'll go in and add a couple of white ones, or blue ones in here. And they're not great big lines. A little bit bigger than that one. And I want that white mixed in there, because they do appear to be a little bit lighter in color there. Oh, looking good, looking good. Oh, on a drawstring bag. Yeah, I like that, Gail. That's a great idea for your kids and or for your grandkids, and then you can put some marbles in it, or you know, whatever they want in it. But yeah, that's a really good idea. We did for a while have some marbles in a bag for our grandson, so that is a great idea. Okay, let's move on to another color here. So on my big one up here, I have several colors in it. I've got aquamarine, I've got orange, and I've got green. So I'm going to go with the aquamarine, or the ultramarine, not aquamarine, ultramarine. And I believe I added a little bit of black, or a little bit of, oh, that's purple, or a little bit of red to make purple. So let's get a little bit of black. That's a little bit too dark. Let's go in between here, a little bit of black and a little bit of purple. Whatever color you want to mix will be just fine. And I may have put a touch of white in there because I'm not sure I'm going to get to the same color that I got to on my original, but we'll just go with whatever color I mix, because there's no right or wrong here when you're making marbles. It's just having fun and creating. All right, I'm going to put a thin one here because we've got to put some orange in between our blue and our white there. So what else has blue? This one over here has some blue. And I've got some blue right here, and that is very, very dark. I'm going to add a little bit of white in there. Lighten up that blue just a little bit. It's a little bit darker than what I want it to be. I've got some blue on this one. This one's just blue and yellow. Some blue down here. The marbles that you can find nowadays that have like this type in it, let me grab one, I'll kind of show you. The colors look like they're, well, they are. They're down in there in the glass, but I just think they look so incredibly cool. All right, let's see. Do I have blue on any other marble? This color blue. I don't think so. Okay, I'm going to quickly go back over that color so we can be done with the blue. I put a little bit of white in that mix. And just a quick stay on the tip. Get it on there. just as long as you're staying within your circle. It really doesn't matter what shape that you put in here. Just stay in the circle. Okay, let's do some orange next. Actually, I'm going to go back to my blue in here and get my second coat on there so I can be done with that. So it's the aquamarine and white. And I'm going to add a teeny tiny little bit of black in there. Just to tone down that blue, not make it quite so stark. I'm not sure that changed it a whole lot. Now you can use your stencil to just paint this in real quick with a stencil brush or a makeup sponge. Just want that a little bit, I don't know, just the color wasn't speaking to me. So I'll just put a little bit of this on here. I mean, the one that I did is, that one is much darker, so I'm not really sure what I did with that one. I probably washed some ultramarine over it. Alrighty, the blues are done, the whites are done. So we're going to move on to the next color I want to use is orange. Now you can use an orange that you pick out, or you can mix red and yellow and make an orange. Whatever you got, just use it. I'm going to go down here. In between here. Alright, this one up here has a couple of orange lines. Have a big one right through there, and then a really thin one up here. And I'm just mimicking what I got on the picture in the packet, so that it's alright. This one is orange lines as well. Now some oranges are pretty transparent, so you know, you may have to go over them more than twice depending on the orange that you pick. Alright, is anybody painting along with me today? Let's see. Got some orange here. I don't think I painted my white stripe on right on this one, but that's okay. I'll get the same colors on here. The pattern may not be the same. Okay, this one has orange on it. Okay. Let's see, where else do we got orange? This one here. Oh, I just stuck my paint in the blue. I'm so glad I saw that before I started painting. That's what happens when you get your colors together. You just fill your brush, you just keep going down the palette. Some orange here. You want those thin lines. Use a detail liner or just stay up on the tip of the brush. Okay, oh no, this one has orange on it, right here. And all right, I'm just going to give a quick second coat on my orange. I think I'm actually going to mix a little white in there to make that a brighter orange. I want my colors to be bright and vibrant, so if they're not that for you, a little bit of white's all that's gonna do it. Not too much white, because you'll definitely change the color, but a little bit of white We'll lighten it up a little bit. Just makes a big difference. I could definitely go to a detail brush. I just don't want to switch brushes, so I'm just going to keep going here. Mix me up a little bit more. I always wipe the tip of my brush off before I go to my surface, because you just never know. I mean, I don't, well, except for right then, I don't want that big blob of paint that's on the tip of my brush. I mean, that's just going to make thick, ridgy paint. It's not going to be appealing. You won't be happy. Alrighty, let's see. Now, there was some place I missed a white line. Where was it? I don't remember where it was at now. No. This one's purple and green. Well, I don't know where it was at, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, the next color that I want to do that's in our big one is the green. So I'm going to mix just a little bit of white with that green, but when I get ready to paint this one, which is solid green, I may mix a tiny bit of black with it. So my green, some white, a little bit more green. I don't want it to be quite that bright. I want bright colors, but I also wanted my marbles to look a little bit older. It's kind of hard to do when you want to have bright colors, because the older marbles, the colors in them were just more muted. Alright, we're going to go to this one here, and we've got a green line here, and then green right through here. I'm sure that's not the right shape, but we're going with it. Got a green line here. And up here. If your circle lines are super, super dark, before we do finishing stuff on them, you might want to erase the lines back a little bit. You still want to see them just a little, you know, so you know where you're going with your shading and stuff, but you don't want them to stand out a lot. All right, where else do we have green? This one has green on it. In a couple places here. Just quickly clean it up with a damp brush. Okay. I'm going to do a quick second coat on those, because this one will be a little bit, oh, I got to put green on this one. This one's green and purple. So I've got a thin little green line here. A little bit fatter here, and a really thin one here. Okay, I think I got all the green ones, so let's go over those a second time. If you're using a pretty opaque acrylic paint, then you know, you may not need to go over yours a second time. This paint is pretty opaque, and I do love it. But I still want the second layer on here. I just think when we go to add our shading on here, it's really going to make a big difference. Karen, you're going to be painting later. Have to leave soon. Well, that's fine. Charlene, I can't keep up with you. I get that. I understand. I understand. I do paint a little fast when I'm doing these lives. You know, when I'm teaching a class, I slow it way down. You know, if I'm teaching at a convention or a Zoom class, I do slow it way down. But on here, I don't want you to be sitting watching me paint for 3 hours. I just want you to grab your paints, you know, whether you're painting along or you're going to paint after and you just can't. I want you to be like, I just cannot wait to paint that. I'm getting my paints now and I'm painting it. Alright, so I'm going to paint this one in here. I'm going to add a teeny tiny little bit of black in there. Tiny little bit of white. And if I don't like this color of green, when I do my second layer, I can change it. I am going to try and cover up those lines on this one because it's a solid color. And this is probably a little darker than a dark, it's more green. I don't know how to say that. It's not an older looking green, you know? Of course, this one that I have in here, it's like a very light green, which is very pretty, but that wasn't the look I was going for. I'm going to dry that green one real quick so I can go ahead and put a second coat on that. A little bit more white in that mix of green with a touch of black. We'll see if this is a color that I like a little bit better. That looks a little bit more like an older green color. A little water in my brush. I don't know what I think of an older green color. I don't know. It may not look like an old green to you, but once we get our shading and everything on here, it makes all the difference in the world. Right now it just looks like a bunch of lines on here. Okay, that was our green. Our big marble is actually done with all the colors I'm going to put on it. So we can move over and start with another color. So I think I'll go with some orange or yellow right now. So my yellow, most yellows are transparent, so I'm going to add some white to it, make it a little bit brighter yellow. So just mix it to a color that you like. You do not have to have a ratio here. If the first time you put it on you don't like it, then adjust the color for your second layer. Alright, so this one has yellow in it. A couple of lines of yellow. Ooh, we're getting some marble looks now. Okay, this one has yellow. Yeah, I think this is the one I left the white out of. It had a white line underneath that blue one. So I'll leave a little space so I can put a white line in there. Let's see, where else do I need to go? Here. Some yellow, and then this one has yellow on it. Try and go right on that line, keep my shape. We can clean up the shape just a little bit when we shade, so you know, if it gets too wild, we can fix that. Yellow in there, and right here. Alright, did I miss any yellows? I think I'll rinse my brush real quick and do the white line that's on this one. And then we can come back and do our yellow again. I had a white line, a very thin white line. Right through there, which you can, once you shade it, you don't really see a whole lot of that. Okay, I'm going to go go ahead and just mix my yellow with this white that's on my brush. And we'll do a quick second layer on our yellow. You're doing such small amounts of paint, these layers should dry so quickly. And I'm not adding as much white in here this time, keeping it more of that brighter yellow. I think I got all my yellow places. All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, let me repeat that white line real quick. Find some paint, white paint that doesn't have another color in it. All right, our next color, I think we'll do red, and then we'll just have purple to do. So I've got red here, and if you want it darker, you can mix a little bit of purple or black in it. Even a little bit of green would be fine. Alright, so this one has red in it. So, I mean, you do not need tons of paint. I have definitely way more paint out on my palette than, I mean, I have enough here to probably do 10 of this design. Okay. I'm sure that pattern is not the same as my original, but it's okay. We'll go with it. Alright, so we've got a red here next to this white. This one's going to have some purple in it too. I've got red in between these two white ones. So just take your time. I do want to go all the way to the edge of the marble. I don't want to start away from that edge. And I've got a line there. And then the only other one that looks like it has red on it is this area here. So far I've used this 0 round and my 8 flat to paint the edge, and that rake brush to splatter with. Okay. Make sure I haven't missed any red ones. This is coming along pretty quickly. It's just that repetitive stuff, but you know, it goes fairly quickly because you're not making great big lines, great big areas. You're just putting in a little bit of paint, a little bit of water, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss any red ones. And then we're going to do some purple. Well, that's looking so good. So good. Alright, our purple is next. Now I am going to add some white to my purple because dioxazine purple is pretty bold, or pretty dark. So I want the purple to, you know, stand out a little bit. So this one has purple on it. And if it's not looking purpley enough, I'm going to add a little more white to it. Because that blue is definitely darker than what I would like it to be. But at this point, I'm not going to change it. Alright, we got purple in this one. A little bit of water in my paint. I don't want it, my flow of my brush stroke to stop. purple here, which we'll not end up seeing once we shade right there. But it's on mine, so I'm gonna do it. All right, purple here, purple and white. A little bit of water, and a bigger brush would probably be best. Important thing is not to lose your marble shape. Okay. I do have full intention of painting this. I have a very huge canvas in my grandson's room, and I do intend to paint some marbles on it. So when I get it done, I'll definitely post that and show everyone. But yeah, when I created this design, that was my intent. Boy, that doesn't look purple on my screen, so I hope it looks purple for you. Let me know, does it look purple to you? Because it's definitely a pretty bright purple. And of course, everybody's screen is going to make it look different, but my screen definitely does not look purple. Alright, see, this one has purple in it. Looks like we got all the purple in there. Okay, and that one's just blue and white. Purple there, purple there. Okay, I'm going to go back over my purple. I'm going to add a little bit more white into my purple because I don't know. Let me know if it looks purple to you, because on my screen it does not look purple. I might wash a little bit of ultramarine onto those blue ones because for me they're just a little bit dark. Second coat on here, just very quickly. Yes, it's purple for you, Anita. That's good. That is good to know. I clearly have color issues on my monitor then. All right, one more. Got all my purple ones. Oh, they're looking so good already, you guys. So good. And we haven't even done the shading and highlighting. That's what adds all the punch of detail to them, you know, that makes them really pop off of there. I'm going to thin some of my ultramarine blue. I don't know if I can lighten this color or not. It's just a little bit too dark of a blue for me. I'm not feeling it. Just not feeling it. I want it to be a little bit brighter. I'm not really sure what I mixed with my original one. It's definitely a mix of something, but I'm not 100% sure what I mixed in there. Since I didn't make any notes about that, you know, I just need it to be a little bit more blue. It's just too dark. Alright, we're going to get ready to start doing some shading and highlighting on here. You want to make sure your chalk circle looks like you want it to look. If your circles around your marbles are very, very dark, You want to erase, just slightly erase it. If you've got a kneaded eraser, just kind of dab at it and remove a little bit of that stuff on there. Because shading is our next thing. So we're going to be using an angle brush and some black paint. And start shading on our marbles. So what we're going to do to get these marbles to really pop, we're going to put our whitest shading along the bottom. And it's going to be a fairly transparent layer of paint. We can come back and add it a second time. But if you get it too dark, you lose that see through the marble look. You know, where you can see the background, the cement or whatever is behind it. You lose that if you get it too dark to start with. So we're going to go along all the bottoms of our marbles here. We'll do that first, and then we're going to do it in a different place. We've got 3 places we need to shade. Okay, so let's just start. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit of black on my brush. I want to make sure I got some fresh water out here. Doesn't matter if it's dirty water for black. It's all going to mix together. So I want to thin it. I'm using my angle brush here. I just want to get a sheer color of paint here. You can see it's not a lot, not a lot. And we're just going to start shading on the lower edges of our marbles. Okay, and so this is where, if you feel like you need it, you get it too dark or something you don't like, just kind of tap it with either a mop brush or your finger. I personally like to use my finger lately, so whatever you like. I know right now that looks like whoa, but we're just getting started, so hang in there. You know, I've never led you astray, so hang in there. I'm going to get a little bit more water, make it just slightly more sheer. There we go. A little bit more sheer, so I like that better. So it's just a subtle thing. So this one up here, I think I'll grab a baby wipe and maybe try and remove some of that off of there. Paint hasn't cured, so we can go in here and remove a little bit of that dark color. Don't rub too hard, you'll remove. That's not working, so let me grab my eraser. You know, my trusty white eraser that I use all the time. And I'll just erase that thin layer back right there. Okay. There we go. Now we're looking fabulous. Okay, we're just going to keep this sheer. Now we got to shade not only the bottom of here, I do need a tiny bit more black, but right next to this one. It looks more purple with the white added to it. Yes, good. I'm glad it looks more purple. All right, so we're doing all the lower edges of our marbles. This first little soft float of black. Don't get too wild and crazy with it. Just a sheer little float. We're gonna come back and repeat. Shade underneath. We're going to throw some of this black out, about, and around in the background because, you know, we want our cement to look old, like it's dirty, like it's been there a while, you know? All right, need a little bit more water here. So I'm just going to do all of them on the lower edge first. Just a soft little float. You know, less is best here. We will be coming back a second time. It is so incredibly hard. Well, not super hard, but you just don't, you cause yourself more work if you get it too dark and you have to go in and remove it. So I caused myself all kinds of extra work there that I didn't need, so. All right, we're going on around the lower edges. I'm just using my 3/8 angle. More water. You definitely have to have plenty of water to keep this float a little softer. That's a little bit harsh there, but when I come back and do my second one, I can fix that. So I'm not going to stress out about it. I don't really, I try not to worry about things like that. I just know that when I come back and add my second shading or my highlight or my shadow underneath, it's all going to come together. These are such soft floats, you guys. I mean, I don't even know if you can see them much on the video there, on the camera, but they are, there's not much paint. I do need a little bit more paint here. I'll wipe my brush out. It's got paint way too far over. I think my black's starting to dry a little bit. I should probably get some fresh paint out. You know, but we always hate to stop and squeeze out fresh paint, don't we? Looks like it's just going to take us too much time. Okay, that one's a little dark, so I'm just going to tap it there. Keeping this all on the lower edge, no matter which direction your marble seems to be turned. We're still just doing this lower part here. Small amounts, small amounts. All right, any questions, comments? Let me know. I'm always here to help. Not worrying about going outside the line of this circle because I got a shade underneath. I'm loading for each marble though. And that one needs a little tiny bit more paint because it's a little bit. I do have plenty of water in my brush though. Keep that nice and soft, and that's kind of key with floating, I think. You can't do it with a brush that's not got the right amount of water in it, that's for sure. Okay, let's go up and do this teal one. I might need a touch more paint with this one because it's a more opaque. And I don't know if you can tell, but I am just getting the smallest amounts of black paint on my brush when I go up there. Just teeny tiny little amount there. I think this one I'm going to mop. Alright, let's do our big one here. Make sure we haven't missed any. It's a bigger marble, so we want it to come up just a little bit higher on this one. Okay, so there is our first one. They still look like they're floating in air because we haven't put a shadow under it or completed all of our shading on these. Okay, so we're going to now go and shade the top edge. This is going to be a very narrow float of color on the top edge. The bottom edge is going to be the widest. So very, very narrow. Just along that top line there. I don't want to fill my marble with shading, so if it gets filled up, just remove some of it. Need a tiny bit more paint here. And it won't look completely like it needs to look until we do our second shading here and we do our dark shadow underneath. So just hang in there. You know I've never led you astray. Hang in there. A little tiny bit more paint in there. More water. This is very, very narrow here, but it's still afloat, so. And a little more paint. I think I might have to put some fresh paint out. There's just no way I'm gonna get this done without some fresh paint. I have to keep going back and getting paint too frequently, and that paint up there is just getting as dry as can be. And I like to work smarter, not harder. So that was making me work so hard. If you enlarge for a larger canvas, will it look okay or lose the design? Going bigger is not always better. What do you think? Well, I think it will look fine as long as your circles look like circles and you paint them to look like marbles and you do all the steps that we're doing. Because the canvas that I'm going to be doing is like 30 by 30 and it might be 40 by 40. It's a big canvas. So, and I am very excited to paint that. I cannot wait to paint it and show it to you guys. Some things I guess could not look quite right if you go bigger. To me it's all in the details, which is the shading and the highlighting, because you know art is what you make someone else see. So I think it will be fine on a larger one. I don't necessarily think with just marbles you would lose anything. I think they would still look like marbles. I mean, the story is here. The chalk line, the marbles, the cement. So I think going bigger, the story would still be there. But that was a very good question. Thank you for asking it. I really like using my finger when I'm doing this because I can smooth it out. Whoa. My light just like came on bright and completely changed. I don't know why it did that. That was just really weird. All right, let's go up here to our big one and put a little bit of a thin line up here. Okay, they're looking a little more dimensional. We still have some stuff to do to it. I'm going to take what paint's left on this. Now, normally with a chalk line, you just wouldn't have a shadow from a chalk line, but I kind of wanted a little bit of darkness in just a few places around my chalk line. I just felt like it made it pop a little bit more so you would know it was a chalk line. I don't know. I just wanted some on there. And then you can take your brush and whatever's left in it, just put it around here. I'll probably do this a couple of times because I really don't have a whole lot of paint left in my brush, but I want my cement to look dirty, so just kind of scrub some in there, whatever's left in your brush, and just give it some dirty look. You know, just all around your, you know, your area, your surface, your cement, your whatever you're doing. Okay, let's go in and do our second shading on the bottom, and then we'll do our shadow. We're getting close to being done with this one. So a second shading. When we do our shadow underneath, it's really going to just change the look of this. So a second quick float here. Oh, I think I have some purple in my brush. Looks like I have purple in there. I'm not sure where I got that purple, but I got purple. This one I'm gonna mop because that's pretty thick in there. Tap with my finger. I want it just a scooch darker here for the shadow coming from that marble. Just a little darker. Just want a little bit of water. Okay, that's a lot of paint. Wipe some of that off. A little dark. Now make sure your first one is dry. If you've got a really super wet float, you might have to wait a minute or grab your dryer and dry it. It's just important to make sure you maintain the shape as best you can. When we put our shadow underneath, if we kind of lose our shape, we can kind of fudge that a little bit and bring it back out into the shape that you need it to be. A little bit more paint, quite a bit more water. I'm really working that paint into my brush with my water so it's not incredibly dark. That's a good thing about your finger. If you get a little dark, that's nice wet paint. We can move that around. Did I do that one? I don't know if I did that one or not. All right, this one. Just looking back around and seeing if I need to increase any areas on the lower parts. The top parts, we're going to be done with that because we got to add a highlight that's just short of the top. So I still got a little bit of paint in my brush. So I'm going to take this again and scrub it in. Use my finger, blur it out. Go over some of those places I went before. Make them a little bit darker. We are going to put like a shading all the way around our edge of our thing here, our surface. I mean, that's optional. I like to do that because, first of all, I think it brings your eye in, and then we have, you know, all the, it just still makes it look old. And so you can do as little or as much of this part that you want. I just want it a little bit more dirty, and I think my background on this one may not be as dark as my other one. All right, they still look like they're floating in the air, don't they? We're gonna get ready to settle them in there, and you can look at your chalk line now, and if you feel like it needs a little brightening on that, you know, on that chalk, then you can do that. Okay, so let's do our shading underneath. So this shading that's right underneath them, this is going to connect them to the cement. It's going to make it look like they're sitting right on there. Okay, we're going to go along the bottom edge. I'm using a wet float, but I have quite a bit more paint than I had for anything else. Look at that one. It already looks like it's right there on the cement. I love this when you add your shading, your shadows and your highlights, and just kind of form it like it's coming off of that marble, you know, kind of a round or slightly oval shape, probably more towards the round side because these are round. And if you get it too light, you can come back and do it a second time. I generally do it a second time up really close to the object. The first time I keep it a little bit, you know, messy. I like the messy. I like to use my finger. I like to make it messy. So we're looking like they are attached to the cement now. So, or not attached to the cement, but they're setting on the cement, you know. Need a little bit more water in my brush. Work that paint in. Looking good. We'll have to do this twice because we need it really dark right up next to the marble. And because I, you know, have quite a bit of water still in my brush, not as much as I did when I was on the marble, but I still have quite a bit in here. We'll definitely have to do this a second time. I rarely do my shadows one time. It just looks better if you can, you know, bring that little bit lighter out away from it and then come in the second time and do that darkness that's right next to it. Okay, so this one is right through here. Starting to pop for you guys. Starting to see it now. It's all an illusion. It's what you can make somebody else see. I see them popping off the, you know, got a shadow on there, and like you could pick them up and start playing a game of marbles. Putting the shadows underneath, for me, that's like one of the funnest things, because just all of a sudden everything's like coming to life. This is a bigger marble, so I'm gonna bring this down a little bit more. Alright, so those have settled down in there quite a bit because they were pretty light. So I want to do it a second time. A little bit more paint because I really want it dark right next to the marble. Okay. You don't have to bring it out all that way that we brought it. We're just doing a little float next to the marble, creating that, except for right there. I want that to be a little bit darker because that's where these two are really close together, and that creates a darker area always. When you have those little V areas, they're always going to be darker. Oh, looking good, looking good. Need some moisture. Let me see if I got some water drops still on my palette. I need to take a moment and spritz some water on there. I still want this paint to be wet. I just don't need to be as transparent as our first layer. right up next to the marble. You need to practice the finger smudge. Yes, it is something that is very handy, and I just have been doing it a lot more on my paintings lately, just because it's just so much faster. I mean, there are occasions when I do still need to grab my mop brush, but when I'm doing shadows like this, I don't need a mop brush. I just need it to be a messy smudge. So, you know, just kind of grabbing that paint and pulling it down and creating that messy little, you know, paint area really does help. All right, let's see if I missed any. I want to make sure we got a dark shadow under all of them. You can go back and do it again if you want to. I still have a little bit of paint in my brush, so, you know, I can put it out here if I want, you know, some darker, messier areas, whatever. Okay, it's definitely starting to look more like cement. Definitely starting to look like marbles. We got to do our highlight now. All right, so our highlight is done with white. We're going to do a float of a highlight, then we'll come back with a round brush and do a little bit brighter and a reflective light that kind of comes on the edge of the marble that's more shadowed. And then I did add a little light that's like coming through the marble, maybe coming out here a little bit. That's optional. You know, if you don't like that look, you can leave that off. But I think it's going to make it look really cool. So let's put some fresh white out. We definitely want a fresh white for our floating. I'm going to make sure I've rinsed my brush in my clean water. And side load. Hopefully I have you on camera shot here. Side load with our white. Okay, we're going to put a little like curve of white. We're not going right on the very edge because we shaded on that edge. This highlight is more, I guess what would be the top of the marble, because the shading on that side gives you the roundness of the marble going on around. Okay, so where we're putting the highlight now is making it look like the top of the marble, if that makes sense. And some of these will have to be done a second time, so a little bit more paint for this one. Are we starting to see it? I hope you're starting to see it. Already done that one. Now, if any of these fade down in there, like these two, just totally, completely faded in there. Oh, my first one and that one. Some of these just kind of faded in there. So I'm going to go over them a second time. Just do them all because I really want this highlight to pop on top here. I don't have a whole lot of water in my brush when I'm doing this one. I just have enough to help the paint flow nicely on here and not become too transparent. I don't want to break this color down as much. Okay. This one probably isn't going to pop a whole lot because it's on top of white, the white lines. But it's still looking good. They are definitely starting to look like marbles, don't you think? All right, I'm gonna grab my round brush. Any of those areas that I don't feel are bright enough, then while I have my round brush here, I can just fix that. All right, so I want to create a little bit of a reflective light on the opposite side because the marbles are kind of see-through, at least the ones I created here. So we have light coming into it, which is the light coming in right here. So we want it to exit over here, just somewhere over here. So this highlight will show up because we shaded on this side. So it's just a little bit of a little line on there, just a reflective light. If this is something that you don't like, then you can leave this part off. I just wanted to have that little bit of reflective light coming out of these marbles. Now this one won't necessarily have it coming through it because they're solid, but we can still put it on there and give it a little bit of bounce of color, bounce of light coming in there. And that's a little dark, so I'll touch that back. It's also not very curved on there, so too straight. Let's just take that off and give it a little bit more of a curve. You want to have fresh paint doing this. And it doesn't have to be a solid line, it can be some dots, Just a little something going on there. Okay, that was like big time bright and shaped weird. So I'm just going to remove some right there and give that a little bit better shape. Just a little bit of water. And this one here won't have anything shooting through it, but we can give it some reflective light. Okay, let's do this one. Okay, so I do on some of the, did I do this one? I must have missed this one. I do want to repeat. If you want it a little brighter, I'm going to look them over and see how they look. I think most of those look really good, but I am going to do a little bit more on the highlight here. And just a quick little swish of a line, not much. You don't have to do it on all of them, but the more light that you can see bouncing on them, I mean, it's gonna just help it. Give it a little bit more life and realism. And I mean, we're not doing real realism here, but we're having fun with it. All right, let's do that little highlight that comes down out. This is where I am gonna thin this a little bit and just gonna make a wiggly little line there. A little reflective light coming out of there. Touch it with your finger so you can really soften that and blur it out. I want it to be coming from where the light's coming from, that marble. Shooting out, hitting the cement down here. That one's not going to have it, so I'm not gonna do that one. Oh, we off camera for that one. I didn't hear anybody yelling at me. line there. I don't like that. I think this is just a super cool thing to bring that light out from the marble. You're telling a story here, so you want to tell as much of the story as you can. Okay, I'm going to wide angle out because we're really close in there. So you can see that little bit of reflective light coming through that clear marble. Isn't that super cool? I love this. All right, the last thing we're going to do on this one is to add some shadow around the edges. Now, again, this is optional. Let me bring my original in so you can see it. I just like that look there. I think it completely finishes the painting, and your eye doesn't want to drift out to those light edges. It wants to go right here, right there, right now. So I'm going to do that, and you just want to grab a large brush. I've got this one that I was using to do my splattering with that I hit against it. It's very large. I probably don't need one quite this big, but it's the one I had out here. Just a 1/2 inch angle, a 3/4 inch brush, something. I want to thin this paint so it's kind of sheer. I don't want it to be super, super dark. So I'm working some water into that so it can be more sheer. I'm going to keep this handy because I think I'm going to have to do some mopping, and got a lot of water in my brush, so I'll remove some of that. And I'm just going to go around the edges and then kind of just dab at it. I'm going to stay off of my marble there. I don't want to darken my marble, so I just want to do the corners and the edges that where we don't see the marble. I don't want to get onto any of my highlights that are shooting out of those marbles either. Okay, a little bit darker on this side. This is a 1 inch flat brush here, and I only had to load it the one time because my surface is only an 8x8 size. So if I was on a much bigger surface, I might use a sponge, a damp sponge, to do that with. There we go. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Let me bring my original one in here, and then I'll show you what we're going to be doing next week. Get some of this other stuff out of the way. And let's take a look and see how they compare. I'll turn my palette camera off here. Okay, here we go. Palette camera, let's turn you off so you guys can see them side by side. Let me make me a little bit smaller so that you can see both of them. There we go. What do you think? I think they look amazing. I love them. I did get the colors pretty close to the same. I'm happy about that, and the pattern pretty close. So, oh my gosh. This is so awesome. Can't help but think of my younger days. Yes. That was me when I was painting this up. From the idea that came in my head, all I could think about was growing up in the 60s and 70s, and you know how much fun we had as kids. I mean, just so much fun. So yeah, I'm glad it made you think of younger days. But wasn't this fun, guys? It really is a fairly easy project. What makes this come to life is those shadows that you put on, not only on the marbles but underneath it, and that little bit of light that just comes shooting through those marbles. Such a fun project. I thoroughly enjoyed painting this one, designing it, and everything else. I just think I just think well, I always say this about all my paintings. It's one of my favorites, but this one was just so fun, you know. It was just like being a kid, you know, creating something, you know, from being a kid. So it was a lot of fun for me. So I hope that you guys are going to paint this. Please tag me so that I can see your work, and I can't wait for you to paint it. And when I get my big one done, I'll show you. I probably won't do as many marbles as I'm going to do on here, but I will definitely show it to you guys when I get it done, because I cannot wait to paint that one. Okay, let me bring in real quick what we're doing next week. It's this one. Okay. Wide angle out. This is my After the Rain design. Love this one. I'm not going to be painting this big. This is a 12 by 12. I'll be painting on an 8 by 8, I believe, which is the same size as what we did today. An 8 by 8. Oh, yes, Gail. See, you can see the marbles on sidewalk chalk art. Yeah, that would be super cool. That would be super cool. Yeah. You know, or even painted on a sidewalk somewhere where it looks real. It will look dimensional when somebody's back away from it. Yeah, that would be so fun. So next week we're doing this one again. This is a free line drawing. It's just the umbrella is all you need. The line drawing is all you need for this, is the umbrella, because everything else we just freehand do it. I love the light bouncing off of the water. I did use, let me find it real quick. I did use one of my circle stencils on this. If I can find it. Hang on. I'll just pull one of my new ones out instead of the one I used. I used this 1/4 inch stencil in some places on here to get those more rounded circles. I did use like a 1/2 inch, I think, in a couple places. Up here, one there, I got one down here, but not too many places. You do not need a stencil to paint this technique. This is that bouquet technique that I tell you guys about quite frequently and that I love to paint. But I'm really working on painting it different ways for you guys, so you can see that technique is not just, well, this is technically the background, but it just reflects the light, whatever light is around, and it's so fun to create, and I loved it bouncing off the water here. So I think it's going to be a really fun one to paint. Again, it should be a fairly quick one. What's going to take us the longest is probably the background, because we got a lot of areas that we're going to be putting in this effect. Not all of it is done with the circle stencil. The majority of it, as we start, is just done with a brush and creating some dry brushed areas and some dry brush circles. So it's going to be a fairly easy one, I think. So I hope that you guys will join me for this one again. This has a free line drawing on here. Hi, Jan. Sorry you came in late, but yes, you can definitely watch the replay. But this one will be next week. I'm already working on what's coming in March. I'm going to be yeah, I'll be here the whole month of March. I was thinking I was leaving in March, but I'm leaving in April. I'll be gone April, part of April and part of May. I'm going to do this one, but I'm not doing the 5 cookies. I'm just going to do 3 cookies and still have the reflection down here so you can see how the reflection works. I have done reflection in several things that I have painted. But this one, I just titled it Easter Cookies. I think it will be fun. It will also be a free line drawing for the 3 cookies, and then you can just add more if you want more cookies. But we're just going to work on 3 cookies. I'll probably be painting on a 6 by 6, but I'll get this up when I can get the line drawing worked out, and we'll probably be doing that going into March, and then I've got to work up some more ideas for March. But yeah, that's what we're doing next week. So let me make myself a little bit bigger and make sure there's no questions from anybody. Thank you, everybody. it was a great time for me today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. And please, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. That helps me out so much. I mean, I seriously cannot do this without subscribers. So, and keep continuing to bring you free line drawings. So if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Please make sure you comment, because that helps things move along, and give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this at all. And I appreciate you guys so incredibly much. Share my videos, and just get your friends excited. Have them all come and check it out. I have over 250 videos on my channel, so, and pretty much all of them have a pattern or a line drawing to go with it. So makes it easy. Makes it easy. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, line drawings on my website. Yes, lonnalamb.com is my website, and there is a section in there that says free stuff, and that's where you can get the free line drawings when I give them away for these free things on YouTube. So I usually try to throw in one each month that is an actual packet. You know, I mean, I have to make a living. I can't give everything away free. And if I can't get subscribers, I got to sell my packets. So, you know, head over to lonnalamb.com. I have more than just free stuff. I have lots of things that really help you as an artist. Stencils, merchandise. I have tools to help you along the way. And, yeah, it's stamps. I still have some stamps on there that are from Stampendous. So another company has bought out Stampendous, so I'm going to try and get into their program so I can get some more stamps. But that's about it for me, you guys. Any questions at all, you know, you can contact me anytime at all. All my information is down below in the description box on YouTube, so you can contact me any way your heart's desire. So, all right, if that's it and there's no more questions, I'm going to tell you guys to have a wonderful and blessed remainder of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Our weekend is going to be great weather, thank goodness, especially Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll see you guys next week for the umbrella. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.